Claudia.
Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, He ordained and knew me, ransomed me, and placed His words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, His beloved Son. And by His word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give Him the stage, because He knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fear, I speak truth. I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, water in every dry place. As I flow to the notes that heaven navigates, let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell His story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. He opens up to me and shows me His glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth for Him, I'm roaring. And the Spirit of the Lord goes before me, to the captive set free. That's reassuring. Over the years, He strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking Him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit, I'm sure. I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction. I am His ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of His word before me. Every time I write, I tell the story as I bask in the truth of His word before me.
Hey, gang, welcome to Time to Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing show in the world. It's Monday, August 24th, and this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, LOVE, love sports and the Word of God on the Tom the Bomb Show. Yes, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Had some technical difficulties, so thanks for bearing with us. We're running a little bit behind, but we could make it up, like the airplanes, how they make it up coming home. Uh, we're live, Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. You can contact us by email at info@tomthebombsports.com. And of course, you can always visit our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang, we'd like to personally thank you guys for your prayers and your support, especially this week. It's a trying week for us, going under the knife. Thank you for contributing to the show and our ministry. We sincerely thank you. With that, we appreciate your patronage, and you can bless us to keep creating compelling content and spreading the word of God, because that's our real job. Our business cash app is hashtag $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. Again, that's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. We sincerely thank you, and may God bless you 100-fold return on the seed that you sow into our ministry at the Tom the Bomb Show. As usual, we want to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things He's already done for us and the new things in 2026. Felix, we're always excited about the new things, Felix. And our theme for 2026 is still, it's the year of discovery, grace for beyond in 2026, to infinity and beyond. So we can be transformed to a level that none of us has walked in before, and that 2026 can be the year, it can be the best year of our lives. Amen. Our foundational scripture for 2026 is found in 2 Peter 3:18, because you got to have a foundation You got to build on a good foundation, and we build it on the rock, the word, the Good News Translation Bible, and it states, and it says, but continue to grow in the grace and the knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. To him be the glory now and forever. Amen. Amen. Hey, gang, I'm pleased to announce our Community Hope Center at VCCI, Victory Christian Church International, that we've started our grocery distribution program. We're feeding 50 families in these designated zip codes on the third Saturday of each month at 11 a.m. Eastern. Our location is at 7-7 Metropolitan Court. That's in Gaithersburg, Maryland. The zip there is 20878, and it's open to all residents of the following zip codes: 20877, 20878, 20879, 20855, and 20882. And for anyone that lives in the Montgomery Village area, you're also included. As a matter of fact, like I said, if you guys show up, we will feed you. Tell them Tom the Bomb sent you. I promise you, they will feed you. Of course, it's while supplies last. You can scan the QR code to register, or you can also register on site. But all participants must complete a registration form, please. Our goal is to work up to 100 families soon, so be in agreement with us to get to this goal. It's a worthy goal, right, Lori?
Yes.
We want to be a blessing to the community that we serve. Amen. Amen. All righty, gang. We got a ton to cover, but we're going to start off with trivia, guys. And we're going to, Felix and Troy, I'm going to have to give you the trivia answer as we give you the question, because we just got a ton of stuff to cover. So, we were running a little bit behind. So let's get to the trivia question. Alec Burleson and Jordan Walker are second and third in Major League Baseball with 98 RBIs, and we're still in August. Only 3 other teammates have ever accomplished this feat. Who are the teammates that accomplished 98 or more RBIs in August in any season in Major League Baseball? Now, I know this is a tough one, but Felix, Troy, y'all want to take a stab at it? It's a tough one, but take a stab at it. Troy, I think you can get this if you use the force, Troy.
I don't know. A-Rod, Robbie Cano, and Derek Jeter.
Those aren't bad guesses at all, Troy. They really, really aren't. But you weren't using the force, but those really aren't bad guesses. Felix, you want to take a stab at it?
I don't think I'm force sensitive. I think I'm more of a clone trooper or
He's a funny guy.
more of a bounty hunter or something.
Well, listen, I know this is a tough question. I really do. So Troy, I'm going to give you go for you guys another hint. Okay, it's my favorite team. So think about that, and now re-answer and tell me who you think these players are.
All right. Albert Pujols, Scott Rowland, Jim Edmonds.
Bam! Listen, I told you if you use the force, you get it. In 2004, Scott Rowland had 113 RBIs. Albert Pujols had 103, and Jim Edmonds had 98 RBIs for the St. Louis Cardinals in August of 2004. That was an unbelievable team, and they didn't win the World Series that year. I told you you'd get it if you used the force, Troy. that's a good one. That's a tough one, but that's a great trivia question, because, like I said, although the Cardinals, let's see, how can I say this? Let me be diplomatic about this, Felix. The Cardinals suck. Yeah. The Cardinals suck. But they have 2 players that already have 98 RBIs and are like second and third in all the Major League Baseball. That's pretty good for a team that sucks. Don't you think so, Felix?
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, it's August, and it's time for our first installment of All Gas and No Breaks update. All right, guys, let's get it. As the East St. Louis Flyers opened up the 2026 IHSA football season, ironically, with the best game of the season in week 1. Usually, Felix, we're hoping for the best game of the season in the state championship. But in 2026, we're opening up the best game of the season in week 1. What most experts say should be Illinois high school football's this is the number 1 and number 2 ranked team. Mount Carmel was ranked number 1 in the state. East St. Louis Flyers are ranked number 2. And at the end of the year, we'd hope that they would square off. But in week one, come on, man. The East St. Louis Flyers, always a nationally ranked powerhouse, found themselves in an odd position coming into the game as an underdog. Truly an unfamiliar role for the Flyers. But when your opponent, listen to this, Felix, when your opponent has won 4 straight Class 8A Illinois high school football state championships, Class 8A is the biggest it can get. That means they're the biggest and they're the baddest team in the state. Uh, and they come in ranked as the number 1 team in Illinois and the number 45th team nationwide. You can understand the East St. Louis Flyers being the underdog, right? Now, both teams have played 6 times, and Mount Carmel has won 5 out of 6 of those games, Felix. 5 out of 6 of those games. They're the only team walking around that can say that we dominate the Flyers. No team has dominated the Flyers like the Mount Carmel Caravan has. But Mount Carmel, like I mentioned earlier, is an 8A team. While the Flyers state classification, Felix, is 6A school. The actual size of East St. Louis High School warrants a legal classification as of an Illinois 5A school, but that just wouldn't be any competition if the Flyers played in 5A. You see what I'm saying, Felix? Uh, the Flyers, the Flyers regularly play against the best and toughest schools, not just in Illinois, but across the nation. Okay, Coach Darren Sunkett does such a great job of preparing the Flyers with the toughest schedule possible. Coach Sunkett says, we don't duck anyone, Felix. The Flyers don't duck nobody. Okay. For you, Felix, in boxing, a lot of times boxers will, why are you shaking your head? But boxers will duck other opponents. The Flyers don't duck anybody, honey. We ain't in no rush. This is the Tom the Bomb show. This show is going to take as long as I want, for as long as that's the reason we do it from here. Okay. So I need everybody to calm down. Okay. Now, one of the reasons Mount Carmel was favored is that this team features an historic number of college bound D1 players. Felix, Troy, they have 19. Listen to what I'm saying. They have 19 Division I players on their rosters, but for major college scholarship offers. But fortunately, major college scholar offers don't actually win games because the Mount Carmel Caravan couldn't find a way to beat the 6A East St. Louis Flyers on Saturday at Illinois State Hancock Stadium, where all of the state championships are held in Illinois. Mount Carmel turned the ball over twice in 1 minute in the fourth quarter, and the Flyers cashed both turnovers into touchdowns and went on to shock the Caravan and win 42-23, snapping the Caravan's 19-game winning streak, Felix. Mount Carmel's head coach, Jordan Lynch, said, losing sucks. Now, first I thought he was talking about the Cardinals. He said, losing sucks. He says, our team was lazy and undisciplined, and we have to grow as a program. It was clearly, this is what the coach was saying, it was clearly week one struggles for sure. When you play a team like East St. Louis that's well coached, that travels and plays the best of the best, it's a great challenge for our program. I have great respect for East St. Louis head coach Darren Sunkett. The Mount Carmels are still the heavy favorites to win their 5th straight state championship in Class 8A. Now, it should be noted, excuse me, that the East St. Louis Flyers, well, they're also loaded with D1 college bound players, including some of the most talented prospects in the country. Coach Darren Sunkett said, this win means something. We heard that we couldn't win this game, he said. We had something to prove. We've been to state 7 years in a row, Felix. Win or lose, we were there. It is tough to win in the state of Illinois. We came out with a chip on our shoulder. We wanted to show that we could play with Mount Carmel and beat them. And the Flyers did that. Both teams were without key players in the second half. Eastside was without their All-American running back, Myson Johnson Cook, who's headed to play at Auburn next season. He had 12 carries for 88 yards in just the first half. But he didn't play at all in the second half. I think it's some kind of shoulder injury. We're not sure. We don't know if he'll be ready for next week, but he's not out for the season. When Meissen went down, the Flyers easily could have dropped their heads in a real tight first half battle between the Titans. Then Ronnie Goldmiller stepped up and volunteered to move from his wide receiver position to running back. Goldmiller, headed to play at Cincinnati next season, had 13 carries in the second half for 91 yards rushing. And Troy, he ran for 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and he caught a 16-yard TD pass in the first half to take star of the game honors, scoring 4 touchdowns overall. Mount Carmel's starting quarterback Ryder Starks was also injured in the first half, and like Meissen, he didn't return to play in the second half. But his backup, senior Brady Clardy, a Plainfield East transfer, stepped in and went 14 for 30 for 233 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, and he threw 1 interception. Now, interesting, Clardy actually ended last season with a loss to the East St. Louis Flyers in the first round of the playoffs when he started last year for Plainfield East. This loss will fuel Mount Carmel. They haven't tasted defeat like this in a long time. It will be motivation to win the Class 8A state championship again in 2026. The Caravan was led. The Caravan led 23-14 after junior Marshawn Thornton's 78-yard kickoff return for a TD with 1 minute and 33 seconds left in the third quarter. But then Mount Carmel opened the fourth quarter with a pair of turnovers, and Ronnie Goldmiller and the Flyers went to work as Goldmiller scored 3 consecutive rushing TDs to put the Flyers ahead 35-23. One of the things that's dangerous about the East St. Louis Flyers, Felix, is when they are behind, which isn't often, but when they get behind, they don't have to abandon their vaunted running game because it seems whoever's in the backfield can take it to the house from anywhere on the field. And then Florida recruit Raheem Floyd sealed the Caravan's fate for East St. Louis with a pick six with 2 minutes and 56 seconds left in the game to put the Flyers up 42-23. East St. Louis QB Reese Shanklin was 13 for 19 for 185 yards passing with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. All state and D1 prospect Marshawn Thornton for Mount Carmel finished with 5 catches for 138 yards and receiving 2 TDs. The East St. Louis Flyers dominated the second half and showed real grit after going down to the defending 8A Class State champion Mount Carmel Caravans, scoring 28 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to pull away from Mount Carmel in what had been a very close and hard fought game. Okay, uh, so that's something. So, as usual, the schedule for the East St. Louis Flyers doesn't get any easier, okay? As the Flyers now head to Miami, Florida to take on the number 49th ranked team in America, American Heritage in Plantation, Florida on August 28th. While the East St. Louis Flyers are currently ranked number 129 nationwide, but now, now they're ranked number one in the state of Illinois. Felix and Troy, what's your take on this clash of the Titans between the Mount Carmel Caravan and the East St. Louis Flyers? Troy, what's your take?
Uh, well, East Side, I feel like based off what I watched with this game, special teams is going to be the number one thing that's going to be the make it or break it point for them this season. Mount Carmel, this game I feel like was much closer than what the
Mm-hmm.
score indicated,
Yep.
especially after the safety that Mount Carmel got, and then they got a kick return for a touchdown following right afterward.
Mm-hmm.
Number three is a four-star recruit from Mount Carmel. He's the best player on their team. He turned up. He showed up when he had to. But one thing I like is that they didn't lose their composure when faced with adversity. They went down 2 possessions, down 9 after the safety and after the kick return,
Mm-hmm.
and they came back and scored all those unanswered points. So that's a sign of good coaching. That's a sign of people on the team staying level-headed. And when you got that at the high school level, that's dangerous. But they got to find ways to stop getting kicks blocked on field goals. They got to find ways to be sharper on punt team because when they play better teams out of state, that's when it's going to be the real test between winner and loser. Mount Carmel, they won all those state championships. It's my first time ever even viewing them, so I don't have much to say about them.
Uh,
But just looking at the film,
I'm sorry, just for your information, that's where Donovan McNabb played in high school against the Flyers. But just for insight
okay.
on that, that's where Donovan McNabb played.
Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, and sidebar too, AJ Green, old wide receiver for the Cincinnati
Cincinnati.
Bengals, was in attendance of the game as well. It's star studded. It's 4 stars everywhere. Number 0 for East Side reminds me of
That's Mason. That's Mason
David
Johnson
Abbott.
Cook.
Yeah, he reminds me of David Abbott, former running back at Churchill, who's playing currently at Arizona State. Shout out to former Churchill Bulldog that I used to coach. But yeah, man. Long story short, though, they got talent everywhere. They got speed, they got size, and they got composure. And when you're tested in a game like that, to where it's easy to kind of get off track, they find ways to stay on track.
Felix, we had the best two teams in the state square off in week number 1. What were your thoughts on that, Felix?
What better way to kick off the season? I think the scheduler knew what they were doing, saw two of the most competitive programs, and that's just a dynamic in sports. You always have that team, that unstoppable team, and there's that one team that always plays up to them, that one team that's their kryptonite. You see this in every sport, you see this in every era. Prime example, and again, just a phenomenal showing by the Flyers as usual.
Mhm. Mhm. I did a lot of research on this one, and because I knew how big of a game it was, and a couple of things that really, really impressed me, guys, was number one, uh, Jordan Lynch, the head coach for the Mount Carmel Caravan, the respect that he has for Coach Darren Sunken and the East St. Louis program. One of the questions that was posed to him was, why don't you guys play more out of state competition like the East St. Louis Flyers do? And I thought his answer was really good, and because a lot of times you think teams be ducking other teams, but he made a great point that East St. Louis uh, conference is much smaller than their conference. They're in that big Catholic League conference out of Chicago. He says so. Their top 8 games are already scheduled for them every single year. So he said the only time that they can play elite competition out of their schedule is in week 1 or week 2, which is one of the reasons they booked East St. Louis for week 1. So he said they're looking into booking better competition, but it has to be week 1 and week 2, where a lot of times East St. Louis, the Flyers will play 4 games out of conference, out of state, because they have that cushion before they get into their conference. So they can go play the Gormans out of Las Vegas and the top teams across the nation. But I really, really I really, really like the fact that the respect that Coach Jordan Lynch of Mount Carmel paid Coach Darren Sunken and his staff and the East St. Louis Flyers. So kudos to them. It was a great game. Hopefully, it'll be a rival that they can repeat. But man, what a blast coming out the gate in week 1, having the number 1 team in state take on the number 2 team in state. So Flyers had something to prove, and they stepped up to the plate and they proved it. Great game all around. Uh, I thought without the turnovers, it might have been a different game, but turnovers is always part of football, right, guys? Yeah, right. Okay, hey, look, let's take a commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Window Nation is on the Morgan's home turf to huddle up about replacing their drafty old windows.
This free estimate is showing how easy it is to tackle the problem.
We can get any of these windows custom made.
Yes, you can get the quality and style you really want.
And at a more affordable price than they ever imagined.
Now that they've sealed the deal, they'll be saving money year-round.
We're really confident with Window Nation.
Get your free estimate today and get 60% off all windows plus no interest or payments for 24 months at GetWindowNation.com.
Sheltered by the Sea of Cortez, Danzante Bay is a pure and peaceful oasis, an uncrowded retreat where your options are as vast as your views. If you're seeking a vacation that defines luxury and the true relaxation, look no further than Villa del Palmar at the islands of Loreto. A splendor of true Mexican hospitality effortlessly blends with rich materials and satiable comforts to bring guests the ideal home away from home experience. With its quiet beaches, scenic vistas, rich history, and astounding surrounding natural habitat, you'll feel as though you've been swept off to paradise. Not to be outdone, Reese Jones has crafted TPC Danzante Bay, a brilliant, multi-themed 18-hole golf course that runs over and through valleys, arroyos, dunes, and foothills. From every angle, striking images of the islands of Loreto and the surrounding mountain range take your breath away, while the challenging yet rewarding Baja Golf Course beckons you to return for more. It is an honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the world's most beautiful sunset and so much more.
Hey guys, for my golfers out there, if you get a chance to go and play Desante Bay, man, I'm telling you, it is absolutely spectacular. I think it's my second favorite golf course in the world behind Baywood Greens in Delaware. That's my favorite. But man, this Desante Bay is spectacular, man. If you guys get a chance, you guys want to take advantage of that. Hey, Tom the Bomb is back at Window Nation after 14 years away. Window Nation is a third generation window and door replacement expert company. They opened their doors in 2006 in Maryland with their first showroom. Celebrating their 20th year anniversary, they quickly grew to serve homeowners in cities across the country. And we're grateful for every homeowner who has trusted Window Nation to upgrade their most important asset, their home. I went to work for Window Nation in 2008 from 2012, and now I'm back. And if you're watching the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk Show, you can actually have Tom the Bomb himself graciously serve you with your home improvement projects with windows and doors nationwide. Okay. We currently have some awesome promotions going on. You just want to contact us, and we have some awesome financing programs going on, as well as same as cash, along with other great promotions. If you need windows or doors, call Tom the Bomb at 301 655 9992. That's 301 655 9992. Or email me at info@tomthebombsports.com and leave a message. I'll get right back to you nationwide. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to serve you. All righty, let's get to our next section of the show. This is right up Troy and Felix Alley. The Detroit Lions defeated the Washington Commanders 17-13. Joshua Dobb overcomes two turnovers with a 50-yard TD run, and the Lions held on for a 17-13 preseason win against the Washington Commanders on Saturday. Joshua Dobbs is expected to back up Jared Goff this season. He went 7 for 12 for 74 yards with an interception and a fumble against the Commanders. He had two rushes for 53 yards. And Detroit played only a few starters, but none of their big guns, none of their big stars. Now, Commanders QB Jaden Daniels did start for Washington, but played only one series. Daniels said, "I'm not worried about playing time and reps. We know we've gotten the foundation of our offense in place. So now we can start focusing on game planning as we get closer to the first real game." Rookie Ethan Kalamanis was impressed as the third Commanders QB, going 11 for 14 for 162 yards. Felix, tell us about the Lions and your Commanders preseason game and what you saw, Felix.
Positive notes, the defense, I'm going to say this. It looks like the zone scheme that they're running, it's consistently successful. We saw Quan Martin have two interceptions in two preseason games. So, of course, if he's a starter, he's not going to have very many reps in preseason games. So he had two picks and a very limited amount of reps. So that's a great sign. Then I was worried about the pass rush because I didn't really see too much out of the pass rush in the Miami game. I was thinking we just go experimental, just run the zone and work on the blitz schemes during the regular season. But that Detroit game, on the Detroit quarterback's Josh Dobbs' first drop back, he was completely enveloped in the pocket. He had nowhere to go. Sack, fumble, touchdown. Again, two turnovers in as many drives. The defense was phenomenal. Now down to the bad news. The run defense was just not there. I mean, Josh Dobbs on the next possession, 2 possessions later, he breaks out for a 50-yard run. Even before that, the Lions were incrementally gaining yards on us with running, same as Miami was doing the week before. Then with the offense, I'm glad you brought up Jaden Daniels. He only had 3 dropbacks. And again, he was sacked. I mean, he was almost sacked. I mean, the pocket collapsed. I'm not even sure if he had up to a second in a clean pocket in any of his 3 dropbacks. So, of course, we had to pull him out of the game immediately. I was getting flashbacks. You might not remember this. RG3's last game in a Washington uniform was a preseason game against the Lions in which he kept getting hit. Gruden didn't pull him out. He had a concussion. Then they put in Cousins. And even though RG3 got better, they kept Cousins in there and it was a wrap. So I was getting flashbacks. That was, that was personal for me as a Commanders fan. So that aside, I enjoyed Cali McManus. He did a good job. But other than that, yeah, I mean, basically offensive line and run defense, everything else looked solid. I like the depth with the running back position. And again, David Blau is an offensive coordinator and Durante Jones is a defensive coordinator, both doing a great job here in Washington.
Troy, how did Washington's number 1 pick, rookie linebacker, look? And what did you see with the missing in their star left tackle? What was your take, Troy?
Well, I mean, Sonny looked all right. There's still a bunch of growing pain that comes with playing middle linebacker in the NFL. So just being able to read keys faster. He's developing and learning. On that read option that Josh Dobbs scored on, a lot of people was giving Sonny flat, but that wasn't his responsibility. Edge guy's supposed to have containment, and then on top of that, the safety is supposed to have his back in regards to being able to stop the run up the seam, but his eyes were in the wrong part of the field, and he scored off of it. So, mistakes happen. It is what it is. It's part of football, but I think Sonny's in a good spot. To go more about the defense, I like the depth that we have on our defensive line. I love the fact that we went and got Mo Hurst, former defensive tackle from Michigan. He was a beast in college, about like 4 or 5 years ago, and now getting him in as a 31-year-old veteran. I think that adds more insurance to our defensive line, which we really need. With that said, not going to the offensive line, it was hard to watch 3 dropbacks and see my quarterback get sacked. It's hard last week seeing Marcus Mariota go down. This is where it's like, yeah, you can have Larry Tunsil who's hurt, and you can have Josh Connolly and all these guys. You got to get more depth on the offensive line next year. You got to think about what happens if my 32, 33-year-old star left tackle goes down, right? Because once that happens, now if it's a guy that's not really built like that, that comes in and can't, pick up, blitz schemes and understand, assignments about how the, offensive line supposed to shift, then that makes things hard for us to really get in rhythm on offense. So,
Well, Troy, didn't they address the offensive line with their second pick in this draft?
with the second pick,
Yeah, with their second pick in the draft. Didn't they kind of address the offensive line with that second pick? I know they
um,
took Sonny Styles with the first one, but didn't they address the offensive line at all?
well, I mean, I know they got Connolly last year. To be honest with you, it's like I'm not looking at that on my notes, so I don't know. So I
Okay.
can't think about that off the top of my head. What I
Okay.
do know is that, you know, when you got guys coming in and having to play in a position in which they're going back to, it's like it just lets you know where you really need help at. We got a bunch of depth in a lot of skill positions. We went and took care of the offseason on defense. Now next year, I'm not season ain't even started yet, but sometime next year or sometime throughout the season, you got to get more, star quality depth that's willing to come in and play most positions on the offensive line. So you can't think about how if your left tackle is going to be hurt or not, but you need more security.
It's funny, Felix, you can address this. In football, your offensive line and defensive line is kind of like your bullpen in baseball and pitching. You can never have too much depth in pitching. And it seems in football, you can never have too much depth on the offense and defensive line. What do you guys think of that?
I agree 100%, man. You need guys that can come in and just play a few drives across the board. not just a left tackle that only knows the responsibilities of a left tackle.
Mhm.
I'm talking about a left guard that can slide the tackle if need be, that can snap if need be,
Mhm.
that can come in and be an extra tight end if need be. Again, I'm knowing how important it is to be in the trenches, given that a lot of my time, even playing, I played in the trenches. I know how important it is in regards to you can't afford somebody that your lead got to go down and then you don't have any type of rhyme or rhythm on offense after that guy goes down. So again, yeah, when the third and fourth quarter of the season comes in and we're on week 11 and we start really getting hit with the injury bug, that's where you really need to start thinking about insurance.
Well, in every level of football, the game is won in the trenches on the offense and defensive line. And just like I say in baseball, good pitching beats good hitting. It always comes back to pitching. Okay, guys, let's get to who's your starting quarterback in Cleveland? Deshaun Watson or Shador Sanders? Well, the breaking news is that Coach Todd Monken has named Deshaun Watson as their week one starting quarterback. And I want to pose this question to both of you guys. I want you both of you guys to answer this right up front. I think the Browns from day one are setting up for Arch Manning. And what do you mean by that? I think the Browns want to lose this season, uh, and so they can draft Arch Manning. And before the season even starts, I don't think the Cleveland Browns are trying to win at all. What's your guys' take on this?
What? I think Deshaun Watson right now. I'm not saying Shador might develop. We got to give him time. We saw what happens when you gave Sam Darnold time to develop, right? But here's the thing. Right now, Deshaun Watson's the best option they had. If you look at his stats during preseason, he actually had a pretty good preseason. And I understand there were some really bad plays here. There were some bad plays here and there. But overall, he completed passes, got the ball downfield, completed drives. So right now, as it stands, he absolutely should be the starter. He had the best preseason. And yeah, a lot of the narratives going around, people being shocked by this, they're catching the highlights that they catch on social media. You might not see a good pass he throws, but you might see him throwing it into the dirt. You might see him take a bad scramble or throw an interception. But there's so many other passes that aren't being shown. Now, is Deshaun Watson who he was in Houston in the late 2010s? Absolutely not. He was on a different level, and he was among the NFL's elite quarterbacks. He was in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands right now, Deshaun, he's a starter in Cleveland. He's the best man in that quarterback room as it stands right now as a player. So again, Shador, I haven't given up on him, but I think that he's another player that I sincerely hope gets a fair chance to develop as Darnold did.
Troy, Deshaun Watson thinks that after being booed by his home team fans on Saturday, says it has nothing to do with his performance and that it's all personal and disrespectful. It's still hard to believe how fast this guy has fallen from grace. I've always been a Deshaun Watson fan, but bruh, it's about your performance. Deshaun Watson has played 19 games for the Cleveland Browns, and not one of them has been what you could consider a good game. It's not personal, Deshaun. The Browns fans are booing because of your performance, number one. And secondly, because you now represent the avatar for possibly the worst trade in NFL history and definitely the worst contract in NFL history. Troy, what's your take on that?
Let's pump the brake. I'm not going to do that. Uh, no, I'm not going to do that. You know, Deshaun, he makes a good point. It's the same organization that cheered when he tore his Achilles and he was on the ground, crying for help, and the home team is over here cheering that he got hurt. So again, I get it. Performance goes with it, but it's a lot to ask a guy to come in. Yeah, you gave him all that money. That's a dumb deal to give him all that bread. But at some point, you saw him as something that could be good for your team. Like we talked about weeks ago. This doesn't surprise me. You paying the guy all that money, he has to start.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Let him go play for 3 or 4 weeks. If it don't work out, cool. Like it don't matter if Shador starts week 1 or not. The Browns ain't a playoff team, right? So it's just like, what are we talking about? And second, hold on. So you mean to tell me that Dylan Gabriel's not nowhere in this conversation? right? I thought last year he was the second coming. I thought it was clear that he was supposed to be the better quarterback than Shador, right? What happened to that, man?
Well,
I
we know
say,
that's
talk
not the
to me.
case. Yeah, we know that's not the
Exactly.
case.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, I just wanted to throw that out there too, you know, people love to just talk out the side of their neck, and then as soon as the truth come out of what it really is, people get quiet. So let's throw some more respect on Shador name in regards to who he was when he got drafted and keeping the same energy that we talked about for the past year. But Shador, this is the perfect scenario. It's no pressure. You just sit back. The fans want to see you win. The fans want to see you get playing time. The city of Cleveland needs that spark. They haven't had that spark in a very long time from the quarterback position. They thought they had it in Johnny Manziel. They should have held on to Baker Mayfield. But
Absolutely.
bad organizations do bad things.
Yep. Great
And if
point.
they lead that bad organization, that's when they start to thrive. So, back to Deshaun. I mean, again, he's not anywhere close to what he used to be. But he's more experienced than Shador. And even though I feel like Shador is a better option right now, especially with the stats, Deshaun had a 14.6 passer rating. That's not going to get it done,
Nope.
right?
That's
But hey,
performance. Yep.
you ain't played in a minute. You ain't played meaningful reps in years, right? But I say you pop your Achilles. This is the first real action you've seen in a long time. So you gotta give man leeway to actually get his feet wet and get back into a rhythm. Um, but yeah, this is gonna be Shador's team soon. I don't think if they do go after Arch Manning, that's a mistake. Because now you just create more confusion in the quarterback room that's known to have confusion since the late '90s. So no, I don't really know what to say, man. Bad organizations do bad things.
I guarantee you they're shooting for Arch. Listen, Nick Chubb has announced his retirement after 8 NFL seasons, finished as the Browns' third all-time leading rusher behind Cleveland royalty Jim Brown and Leroy Kelly. What's you guys' thoughts on Nick Chubb and his career?
Um, we had the pleasure of watching Nick in college with that three-headed monster, Sony Michelle and Todd Gurley. And one
Great
thing I'll
backfield.
say is that, there's a lot of wear and tear on a brother that's been, relevant since he was a sophomore in college.
Mhm.
It's workhorse. The workhorse running back is not this. It's not the same as what it used to be. I think he's retiring at a good time on his terms. He came back after two gruesome lower body injuries, and the fact that he was able to still put a helmet on after enduring that is a lot of things. I mean, is very important in regards to just his mental psyche. Like he didn't quit. He went out, came back, and then said, "All right, while I'm healthy, I'm just going to call it quits." So I'm glad that he didn't call his career based off an injury. He's definitely going to be well missed. One of the best running backs in between the tackles that we've seen in the past like 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
And, it was a pleasure being able to sit and watch him play football.
Felix, you got any thoughts on Nick Chubb, real quick?
Yes, I'd say one of the underrated running backs of his time of the last 10 years. Definitely a solid power runner. And I'd say he's another one of those players that really should have had his name spoken more of in the national media. But again, they judge your success based on your team's winners or losses. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I want to keep it positive. For that three-headed monster, long appreciated by Georgia fans, college football fans as a whole. And I just wish him the best of luck in retirement. I'm glad he was able to leave the sport on his own terms and enjoy success that a lot of people don't. He played football at the highest level, did a great job at it, and just best wishes to him.
Great football player. Great, great, great football player. Let's move on to our next topic. We got to spend a minute here. Daquan Wright is possibly going back to LSU after being waived by the Cleveland Browns. He's among a group of athletes granted a temporary restraining order on Wednesday to return to college football. So, what do you guys think of this, Mishigosh? Returning to college after signing with an NFL team as a UFA. Does the NFL team get their money back? Do they get the draft pick back? This guy entered the transfer portal and 2 days later played in the Browns preseason game in the NFL. Wright is part of a lawsuit challenging the new NCAA eligibility rules that gives athletes a 5-year window to compete in college sports. Now, he's in a large group of athletes whose eligibility expired under the old rules after the 2025 and 26 school year. The class of 2022 high school graduates were not included in the implementation of age based eligibility by the NCAA, and dozens have since sued the NCAA to be eligible this season. Wright is among roughly 30 athletes, including 16 football players, who could receive a fifth year of eligibility after a Louisiana judge granted a temporary restraining order in their case. Now, the NCAA rules strictly prohibit players from bouncing back to college after signing pro contracts and with an agent. But the plaintiffs' attorneys have said and argued that the ruling allows the athletes to return to school if they pay back any money received from NFL teams or agents. The problem here is LSU will simply circumvent this rule by simply paying for Daquan's right payback money. Okay, that's what I see as a problem there. So the bottom line is the NCAA has to accept that college athletes are professional athletes and they need to be dealt with like that from day one, and they should have done it years. The problem now is the college athlete is making more money in college than as a first year pro in the NFL. So these two leagues have to come together and fix this broken system. You can't make $12 million in college and then get 800,000 in the NFL. Here's the worst of it all. Now college coaches are scouting the NFL preseason games, searching for NFL players that still have college eligibility left to properly sign to their college teams. Now, what's wrong with that picture? That's insane. So, lastly, ultimately, what's happening here is simply the history of unions in the world. If owners were fair from the beginning, you'd never have unions in the world. The NCAA has acted like a monopoly forever with blanket statements from leaders like, I'm quoting, over my dead body will I ever allow college athletes to be paid like professional. Well, Malcolm X said, this is the roosters coming home to roost. The NCAA has taken advantage of kids forever. Now it's time to pay up. Felix, what's your thought on this, Michigosh?
First off, I did not expect the Malcolm X reference. As a history major, that is greatly appreciated. My goodness. Thank you.
Well, you know I'm trying to impress you, Felix. Nobody else am I trying to impress but you, Felix.
And secondly, with this, with the NIL deal, I really don't think that this is really a big. I mean, this is really something that you expect. Colleges, they make a certain amount of money off of the players. So naturally, they're going to give the players a certain amount of money because, again, when you're working a regular job on campus, you're offered a stipend because you're dedicating time for what you're doing to benefit the college, and they're extending that to athletes. So, of course, because athletes they make money on a grander scale, they're going to be given larger contracts. Granted, when you make it to the NFL level, it's a little again, if you're coming in as a backup as a rookie, you're not going to get the big money just yet. You're not necessarily contributing that much. So there are going to be a few gaps. It's not going to be I move to the next level and I'm automatically going to make more than the highest person at the lower level. There's going to be a bit of overlap, and that happens. So I think that for the most part, this is not going to be a thing where it's super common to the point that they're going to have to make some sort of rule adjustment. Maybe they will anyway. So I wouldn't think too much of it. And I'll even say that you see this sort of thing in other industries. Sometimes there's a company that's bigger than another, and there's some person that's at a lower, a lower company, and they're making more. Say they're making more money than a person in the higher industry that's at a lower rank. If you're able to follow, if this makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is really just a natural effect. Sometimes it happens. It's not always going to be one to one. I'm not really, but I do think again because of the optics, I think that they're going to make the change whether they have to or not. I don't think they have to, but again, it's going to be enough of an uproar.
Troy, what's your take on this subject?
Uh, it ruins the true freshmen in college ball.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, you straight out of high school, coming into a Division 1 school and getting playing time is almost slim to none. I don't care how good you are. You're going against grown men that some have tasted have gotten a whiff of what it feels like to be on an NFL field. If they're still recruiting by the end of August, early September for your team, you could do everything right and still get outworked and replaced by somebody that's bigger, stronger, and faster than you because they're just more experienced and older. So I think this definitely ruins like the true freshmen of the world that deserve to get the hype and recognition and opportunity to play at that level early, but won't be able to get that because of this ruling. So outside of that, I mean, it is what it is, man. We're in a different day and age now. College athletes do deserve to get paid. But I think rookies should get a little bit more leeway in regards to, making more money in the NFL. Because like you said, it's hard to go from making $8 to $12 million a year in college, and then you go to the pros and you're not even making, 25% of that.
Troy, you make a really, really good point, Troy. A true freshman could be 18 years of old, and he could end up playing against a guy 23 or 24 years. That's a boy playing against a man. And and there's a big difference between college and pros like night and day. But 18 and 23, 24, that's that you could get killed. And I'm not being facetious when I say you could get killed. So that's a really, really good point that I hadn't even thought about, Troy.
Well, it's the reason why they allowed high school guys to come into the NBA at one point, but they never allowed it for football. When I played at Stevenson, a lot of people don't know this. Stevenson has been around for a while, but their football program started in 2011. When 2011 started, because they were a new program, they allowed eligibility for those who were graduating juniors and seniors academically. But then when it's a new program, guess what they are considered? A freshman. So imagine a freshman at the age of 24 years old, right?
Right.
To graduate from college and then still have 3 more years of eligibility left. The chance of you getting on the field in that scenario, you got to be that guy and stand out. And even still, you're still going up against, like you said, a grown man who has developed more, not only with his brain, but just overall with his body structure. When guys at that level take things serious, the speed is different. And I don't care what anybody's talking about. Today's game is mainly changed because guys have gotten bigger, faster, and stronger at every phase, especially at the quarterback level. So, it's not fair for somebody who's a four-star, like, okay, that four-star recruit out of Mount Carmel. As good as he is, he ain't gonna go to Alabama and get no playing time his rookie year. I mean his freshman year. It's not gonna happen, right? Guys like Adrian Peterson, he was a true freshman starting at Oklahoma, right? In today's day and age, the thought process of guys can come back after they, don't work out after, going to training camp. Oh man, it's just not fair, man. If you're gonna have college, let it be college, between a certain age gap, not guys grown, still having all this eligibility, bending the rules.
Felix, that Troy's really good, isn't he?
Yeah, he said it really well, and I'll even double on what he said about physical differences and not even to mix sports. But you said they don't allow people to go from high school to the NFL, but they would allow it for non-contact sports, basketball and baseball. Even in hockey, and again, people say hockey is a physical sport. Here's the difference: there's not a guaranteed hit on every play. Football, the play ends on a hit or someone going out of bounds. 9 times out of 10, it's a hit, right?
Yep.
So it's something that has to happen. Secondly, even in hockey with fighting, this is something that you'd actually have to follow or notice. It's like strongly discouraged if the rookie's like 18 or 19. It's seen as a scummy thing to accept a fight from them, even if they're really egging you on. You're going to take a lot of heat if you like join it, even if the rookie's physically bigger. Because again, you're used to fighting on ice. You've been playing the sport for a long time. They're not fighting at the high school level. There's a difference between knowing how to balance and knowing how to deal with a grown man hitting you while you're trying to balance. And that's a messy situation. So I don't want to go too far off topic, but yeah, there's a difference in, the physicality and what they're used to. If you're talking about an 18-year-old college player, as good as they are, let's be honest. The year before, they were playing against other high schoolers. Some of them may have been as young as 13 because you got to remember some kids have late birthdays when they get into high school,
Felix,
right?
Felix, that's a
So
great point, man. You guys, those are great points. I didn't know that
yeah,
about
I'm
hockey.
sorry about that.
I didn't know that about hockey, and that really makes sense because in all of these sports there are unwritten rules, and I didn't know that one. That's a great point. That's an unwritten rule that you don't fight with an 18-year-old if you're a professional. That's a great insight, Felix. Troy,
Yeah,
that
nobody
Felix,
want to
that
whoop
Felix.
on no kid.
Say again.
I say, yeah, nobody want to whoop on no kid as a grown man.
That's like I say. That's great insight. Troy, that Felix is really good, isn't he?
Yeah, I said that boy knows this. He knows this stuff, man. We got good information for this topic, without a doubt.
All right, let's get to our next topic. Caitlin Clark sets another WNBA record with her fifth career game of at least 30 points and 10 dimes, 10 assists, surpassing the combined total of the rest of the whole league. Caitlin recorded her fifth career 30-10 game during a 113-90 win against the Chicago Sky, giving her more such games than the entire rest of the WNBA history combined. She has a 40-10 franchise game when she went off on the Seattle Storm for 45 points and 10 assists, logging the first ever 40-10 stat line in the WNBA, a history, and of course, setting an Indiana Fever single game scoring record. She also became the fastest player in WNBA league history to reach 200 career three pointers. And listen to this, not just women's, but she's the fastest in the last, not just women, she's the fastest in the last 100 years to reach 700 assists. and and they think that they don't need Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Felix, what's your take on that?
Caitlin Clark has always been a great player. I mean, people, and again, the reason people are even discussing whether or not Caitlin or Angel Reese are even good players, it's 100% just people who are non-fans trying to chime in. They don't generally care about the sport. Anyone saying anything negative about Caitlin or Angel, again, these are two people who don't even dislike each other.
Drinking
They're
haterade,
just
drinking that haterade,
exactly.
Felix.
Exactly. They're just people who don't watch the sport. They're just in there for the chirping. They're just in there for the trash talk. And and to be honest, even Caitlin, even though she's not leading the league in scoring, she's not the top scorer. She's new to the league, and her stats are still solid. She's in the higher percentile of all the talent in that league. So everything else that'll come forth with more experience. Same thing with Reese. Like Reese is already being historic with her defensive play. So again, yeah, I don't like the whole narrative. Like we're not saying Caitlin Clark is the league. We're not discrediting those who came before her, those who are great players now. But you can't deny that Caitlin Clark and Reese, but Clark was a big part of the league's popularity blowing up. And also, again, she's a major player in the WNBA. So I can't state it enough. These are two players who deserve more respect and less trash talk as we're seeing going on right now.
Troy, she's such a phenomenal three-point shooter and scorer that I think her assist abilities gets overlooked. And like I mentioned, the fastest to 700 assists in the last 100 years. I mean, she's a dime-making machine. What's your thoughts, Troy?
I mean, she is. The girl can play. You know, I said this a couple years ago. I said this last show, and I'll say it again. You know, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese having that beef a few years ago in college saved women's basketball.
Mhm.
This is what women's basketball needed in order for it to really be relevant at a wide eye scale.
I
Not for the
agree.
diehards that love WNBA, because there's no knock on that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But to get where they're trying to get more money and more viewership and more revenue, this is what it needs, right? It
Mhm.
needs women to get out of the mode of playing like a woman, meaning playing within a system, right? Caitlin Clark is one of the few women that's had the least taken off her collar and told to free roam as much as she pleases, right?
Mhm.
I think back to Maya Moore. If Maya Moore had the green light at UConn and in the WNBA as much as Caitlin Clark had the green light at Iowa and now, for the Fever, she would be putting up those same numbers 10, 15 years ago.
Mhm.
But the difference is that it wasn't frowned upon for women to play like Steph Curry, to play like Allen Iverson, to play like Jason Williams, to play in a position to where it's like, yeah, you got the Tarasis, you got, all these, Lisa Leslie's, you got all these big names from the past. But again, through a system, right? Like to hear all these records being broken, they're changing their style of play more so than I think it is the talent. And there's no knock on Caitlin because Caitlin can hoop. Caitlin can hoop, right? But I view it as now these women like Olivia Miles, now these women like Paige Beckers, now these women that just have the confidence and the ability to go out and really hoop. It's really starting to show in regards to the pace of how more points are being scored. It's more beef starting to happen. I haven't seen WNBA beef like this in a very long time in regards to all these headlines popping up over and over and over. I'm not just talking about Caitlin either, right?
Right,
It's
right.
a bunch of things where it's like, look, the women are really stirring up, a bunch of ruckus in regards to look, we're gonna show you why we deserve the money that we want, right? So I think now, organizations at the top are realizing we gotta let these women, free reign and let them just go out and hoop as opposed to, trying to get them to run that 4-out 1-in system where they gotta pass the ball 5 times before they're allowed to shoot.
Troy, Felix, answer this for me. Do you think this is hyperbole, what I'm about to say, or do you think this is valid? Uh, do, um, I think Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is almost equivalent to when Magic and Larry Bird showed up in the NBA and had the same impact.
Ding, ding,
Is
ding,
that
ding, ding.
hyperbole, or do you think that's accurate?
Accurate.
Felix?
Are you saying that just basketball skill wise, or yeah,
No,
100%.
no, not basketball skill, but just what they did for the sport, the impact.
Impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, 100%.
Mhm. That's great.
No.
That's outstanding. All right, guys, look, let's move on. Try to keep the show running. Look, let's move on to baseball. What happened to the no doubles defense in the Phillies' 6-run ninth inning debacle made by my St. Louis Cardinals? The Cardinals became the second team to lose a game after being up 4 runs in the ninth inning. There's been 763 times where a team was up 4 runs in the ninth inning, and only twice have that team that was up 4 lost. The Cardinals did that yesterday, giving up 4 runs in the ninth inning. Ali Mamal, the Cardinals manager, he should be fired for this, okay? For how he managed this game. You have to make a lot of mistakes to lose this game 4-0 in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs. With 2 outs. Listen, there was 4 times where the Cardinals were 1 strike away from winning this game and they lost. First of all, when your closer throws 30 pitches or more, you're in trouble. Closer ain't supposed to throw 30 or more pitches, Felix. Then, secondly, let me explain the no doubles defense. And this is really what got my goat, because in baseball, when you're leading, Felix, and you probably know what this is. You know what no doubles defense is. When you're leading in a baseball game in the last inning, you go. It's a matter of fact, Troy. It's like kind of like a prevent defense. So what you do is a no doubles defense is the first baseman guards the first baseline, and the third baseman guards the third base line. So the whole point is you don't let a ball get past you on the line, because if you're at third base and it goes to the left of you, the shortstop can get it, and at the very least, the left fielder can get it. But if the third baseman lets that ball go past him on the right side, then that ball's going down into the corner, and the batter is going to get at least a double. So now you got a Mondo Sosa up. It's 2 outs. The bases are loaded. You're up 4-1. And the Cardinals' third baseman, Jordan Blaze, is not guarding the line. He's not playing doubles defense. That's a management thing. And then Armando Sosa knocks the ball down the line. It gets past his glove. It rattles in the corner, and all 3 runs score. And we go from being up 4-0 in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs to being 3-4. The next guy gets a hit, it's 4-4. And then the Schwarbinator comes up and hits a ball 449 feet to dead center on top of the batter's eye to beat the Cardinals 4-6. Now, Yes, it probably was their worst loss, but they almost lost this exact game 2 or 3 nights ago. The Cardinals have blown 24 saves this year. The other thing is, your catcher has to be able to get you through an inning like this. I guarantee you, I promise you, that if Yadi Molina is catching for the Cardinals, they don't lose this game. Okay. Uh, Come on, man. Felix, you know how sometimes when baseball teams have a blowout, and they'll bring in a pitcher that's not a pitcher. They'll bring in a position player to finish the game out because they don't want to wear out their real pitchers. And these position players come in and they throw this nice high lobbed pitch that comes in about 45 to 55 miles an hour. And some of the major leaguers will hit a home run off of it, but the majority of them just pop it up for an out. You know what I'm saying, Felix?
Yeah,
So how do you lose a game and you're up 4-0 in the bottom of the ninth, with two strikes 4 different times, and you're a closer and you can't
easy. The
close the game
manager
out 4 times?
the
Go ahead,
manager
Phil.
allowed the pitchers to serve more meatballs in the sub shop. That's how.
Man, this exact same thing happened to Riley O'Brien last outing. He's afraid. It seems to me like he's afraid to throw his fastball. When you start an inning up that much, and then you walk the bases loaded, in a situation, it's like you got to let the batters get themselves out. The Phillies have now won 9 straight games and are getting hot at the right time of the year. They had great at bats in the ninth inning to pull that game out. Okay, um, this is so bad. This is so bad. I was taking it easy. I went to church. I rested. I slept. I slept. I watched the game. Cardinals played brilliant for 8 innings, and then the ninth inning came around, and I'm not even going to say what I did after that. But man, this is just absolutely horrible. Troy, you got any thoughts on this?
No, sir.
Man, this is horrible. I think Ali should lose his job behind this one. Let's move on. Wyndham Clark wins the BMW Championship for his third victory, but boy, did he make it interesting, blowing a 5-shot lead. Wyndham Clark didn't make a single birdie until the 16th hole. Troy, we've always talked about that you just can't go for a walk on Sunday. You got to do something. And his playing partner, Felix, the sacrificial lamb, Rory McIlroy, got red hot and poured it on, but you can always count on Rory to miss that crucial putt when needed the most. And that's exactly what Rory did on the 15th hole, putting for the lead. Then, right after he missed that birdie putt, Rory's meltdown happened after that. But it woke up Wyndham Clark, who then finished birdie, 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 and overcame the dumb bogeys in his turbulent final round to win the BMW championship at Belle in St. Louis, Missouri. In golf, your your scoring pencil doesn't have an eraser on it, but I've always said that your putter is the great eraser. And Wyndham Clark putter caught fire at the perfect time, birdieing the final 3 holes to finish at 17 under par, ahead of Patrick Cantley and the sacrificial lamb, Rory McIlroy. Okay, we've talked we've talked on this show before how Wyndham Clark might be the most disliked PGA professional on tour, but Clark said it shows that I'm one of the best players in the world. And he is correct about that. Clark went on to say, I know everyone maybe gives me a hard time and they root against me for other people, but I feel like I've kind of come into my own with 3 wins in one season is my best year yet, coming off my worst year ever. I'm just really pleased where I am right now. Congratulations to Wyndham because it's extremely hard to win on the PGA Tour, let alone 3 times in one season. As a fellow hacker, we salute you on the Tom the Bomb show with Wyndham Clark. What I liked about this win, Troy, for Wyndham Clark was that he won without his A game and he beat one of the toughest fields of the year. I think out of nowhere, he's got a chance at PGA Tour Player of the Year if he finishes strong next week. When all year long, it's been a foregone conclusion that Scotty Scheffler, like the Dodgers, would win it easily. Troy, what's your take on Wyndham Clark winning the BMW Championship?
Well, God got game. He has enough power to where he can swing it 70% and still put himself in a lot of good scoring positions, round in and round out. Uh, Short games, phenomenal. Able to kind of make up for, missed shots off from the fairway or just second shots in general. This is big for confidence in regards to taking it into next week. But I still think Scotty's going to win it.
Okay. The Tour Championship at East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta will wrap up the playoffs and crown a FedEx Cup champion. If Clark wins next week, I think you'll have to give him PGA Tour Player of the Year. Felix, uh, Felix, the winner of the PGA Tour Championships gets one check for almost $22 million for 4 days of work. Say it with me, guys. Get your kids out playing golf. Get your kids out playing golf. Felix, really, really fast, and I mean really, really fast. Give us something on the Mystics making playoffs, real quick.
So I wanted to say this. This is something I saw years ago. I saw this in the making. 2 years ago, the Mystics start the season 0-11, and they worked their way all the way to the end of the season, being last game of the season. They played so well in between starting 0-11 to the point that with last game of the season, they were still in the playoff hunt. Of course, they missed the playoffs that year. Fast forward 2024. So again, that already showed me that they have talent. They have fight. If they started that season with just one win in their first 11, they would have made it. So it shows me that they're really have talent there. The next year, they draft Sonia Citron, Kiki Area Friend, and they're breaking rookie records back and forth. Fast forward to this year, they were beating league champions, league championship contenders, number one seed, the top seed team in the WNBA. Area Friend and Citron still doing their thing. Then what was the X factor? Shakira Austin just exploded. Career high 31 points in last night's matchup. She was averaging about 20 a game in the last week or two. Then the Mystics, they qualify. Again, congratulations to that team. They've been working very hard. And even before anyone else noticed, I saw this coming from a mile away. And again, just how far they can go to the playoffs, really no one knows because this team is talented beyond what people outside the fan base truly understand.
Well, congratulations to our local Washington Mystics team. Washington has been suffering for a winner in any kind of sport, so congratulations to them. As
Especially
usual,
basketball.
as usual, Felix and Troy, you guys are on spot and excellent, man. You guys had some excellent takes today. You guys are really, really good. Hey, listen, don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube and hit that like bell, please. If you're enjoying the content and you'd like to bless our ministry, you can sow into the Tom Bomb Sports Talk by cash apping us at $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. Again, that's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And don't forget to check out our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. You can also email us at info@tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang, for a dynamic, in-depth sports analysis and highlights for sports in the DMV and more, check out the Washington Sports Den on Saturdays on WBGR with my main man, Mr. Felix Bassey. His future's so bright, he gotta wear shades at night. You're a poet and don't know it. Man, time flies when you're having fun. We're out of time here, but we sure do thank you for spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour out an abundance of blessings down on you. God wants to bless you abundantly, that there won't be room enough to contain it as you live off the overflow and step boldly into the realm of grace. Remember, if you want it, you got to confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the cross and that he rose on the third day, not necessarily a Thursday, just for you. Hey, gang, Tom the Bomb wants to leave you with a thought, okay? Duct tape may patch a lot of things, but 3 nails fixed everything. Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. May God bless you guys. We'll see you guys next week on this same bat time, on this same bat station. You guys have a good week. Felix, Troy, you guys did a fantastic job as usual. Say good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
Well, I'm coming out with a word in my mouth, filled with excitement to say what it's all about. For a long time, I've held this water in, let the floodgates open, let the miracles begin. I've prayed, and I've gone back 7 times, look again, cause the miracles of mine stir the water. I'm about to step in like the pool of Bethesda, let the healing begin.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
It took a minute to get my composure right. For years it seems like I've been fighting for my life. Confusing times when my days resemble nights. But now this eagle is about to take flight and soar out of darkness to its revelation light. Though the waves are rough, I step out my comfort zone to walk on water, cause I know I'm not alone. God's got my back and reminds me I'm his own. His words are sweet in my mouth, they taste like a honeycomb. And faith has opened up my eyes. I've been through the fire, tested and tried. As I study God's word, I finally realize that my purpose I have to visualize, to bring the unseen from the realm of under night until I walk into the fullness of a purpose-filled life, cause I'm light. Yes, I am light, and I shine bright. I am an investment of the Lord Jesus Christ. Not only am I light, I am salt. When I enter in, I add flavor to it all. I bring truth, there's no dispute. Jesus is the vine, and in him I take root. I am the head, and not the tail. I'm an overcomer made free to prevail. A new design, a special kind. Ambassador followed by wonders and signs. I am light, and I give sight